Welcome to the Triple D Podcast, Donuts, Disability, and Discourse, where host Michael Leiner talks to the best in the business about community, impact, business, and donuts. Here's your host, Michael Leiner.
Welcome to another episode of the Triple D Podcast, Disability, Donuts, and Discourse. We're actually lacking in one of the D's today. Did you guys notice that?
No donuts. Yep. We got a cookie, though.
That's right. We have a cookie instead
DCD.
today. Yeah, right. Today it's the Double D Podcast, Disability and Discourse, except we don't even really have one of those D's because you guys are attorneys and friends of mine, but not disability attorneys. Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate.
I am so excited about our guests today. We have Ashley Jones and Leslie Johns. Do you guys want to tell us a little bit, you're lawyers. What type of lawyers are you?
So we are criminal defense lawyers, and a small percentage of our firm is civil protection orders. That's mostly Leslie's wheelhouse, so I will let her talk about that. I stay out of that world, but she is the CPO queen.
What is a civil protection order, by the way?
Well, a protection order is a civil action that can be filed in either domestic relations or common pleas court. And in both of those courts, you are trying to prevent someone from having contact, communication with you for various different reasons. But we represent both petitioners and respondents. So you could be the recipient of that order or trying to get one.
And is that like a big part of the practice or a small part of the practice?
It's growing reluctantly at times.
Why reluctant?
They are fast-moving cases, which sometimes is good, depending on which side you're on. But that means that I'm in trial a lot on these things, and what you would think might be an in-and-out, day-long type of thing, maybe a couple hours, ends up being a couple days, and that takes up a lot of time.
Is it easy for you to predict how long it'll take to get one resolved, or is something that you think is going to be fast takes?
Yeah, I thought one that I had on Friday was going to be a few hours. Like, I did not anticipate being there all day, and I didn't anticipate having to come back a second day. So I guess I was wrong on that.
So, like, in my world, doing, like, disability hearings, I know it is scheduled for an hour. Mm-hmm. That's about as long as they go. Sometimes they're way less than that. How do you arrange your, like, calendars as a whole when there's, like, not predictability for how long something that's on it is going to take?
We do a lot of guessing and estimating and guesstimating, and sometimes we're wrong. And sometimes Leslie's like texting, like, I'm stuck, like, I can't do X, Y, and Z, whatever. I think those cases are hard too because they're so exhibit heavy, mm-hmm. and then a lot of times you have pro se people, which that's always a disaster.
Yeah, because they don't know what is admissible, what's not admissible, and so they bring literally like everything that they ever communicated with this person, anything that's really not relevant, and then I have to go through objections, and then the court kind of has to explain why that's not something that can be admitted as an exhibit, and it just slows things down a little bit. Sometimes I get there, and I don't know if I'm going forward. So yesterday, I was pretty sure, like spent the weekend preparing for this trial, was pretty sure that I was going forward. Had talked to opposing counsel on Friday, and it was like, well, can't agree to anything, like, guess we're going to trial, and then I show up. He's an hour late, but I show up and it's getting dismissed. It'd be nice to know that Friday rather than Monday. But
so, like, when you're both moms, in addition to being lawyers, and something that's interesting for me to, or that I ponder, because I know how my life works. Do you guys feel like you're organizing your non-work life around your work life, or is it the other way around, where you're able to, like, organize your work around whatever else you have going on in the periphery?
I think it's both, because it's always like a moving target. Yeah. Like, we get, for instance, we just got a call as we were walking in here about somebody that has a DUI set tomorrow, and we would consider that urgent in any situation, but it's a referral from a colleague of ours. So, like, not that I had, plans besides doing this, but, like, there are certain situations where, like, something has to happen, like, right now, or calls have to happen right now, or prep has to happen right now. I think in that case, the only reason you really spent the weekend was because you spent Friday in trial on another one, so you couldn't really prep this new one because
Right.
it just was, they're so fast moving
Right.
because they have to be heard like in certain periods of time, which is good sometimes. Like
Yeah.
they move quick and they're quick like money generators, but they just suck a lot of time.
Are your families like, have they adapted to it where they're used to you just being like, I'm at dinner and now I need to go out and make 7 phone calls?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a routine now, and so like you were saying, is it vice versa, or is it you plan one
Yeah.
way or the other? It's very fluid. Like I will plan my day based upon what's on the calendar. A lot of times we have like advance notice, so like we look a week ahead. But sometimes it just changes, and we have to kind of pivot. And I think the good thing is we have supportive partners, so we're able to kind of move things around and be flexible.
And I think we both try really hard. Like when we're working, we're like 110% working. When we're like, if we have a family activity, like we're doing that, and we're not, like I'm not generally, unless it was like a crazy situation where someone's in jail or like whatever. Like if I'm at the water park with my family, like I'm not making calls. There's nothing that's that important that I won't do that. I will wait 3 hours till we're in the car, or I can go to the bathroom, or like whatever it is. Like I think we both try really hard to be like present and like switch between like both things.
Yeah. It's. I was thinking about this exact thing that we're talking about earlier today. I saw like somebody in another state was hiring a personal injury lawyer, and it was just one of these. It was on LinkedIn, and they put something up there with the things that they're looking for, and they were trying to make it sound like a really rah-rah place to work, where they were like, "Do you want work-life balance?" And I'm thinking, there's no such thing as work-life balance. If you're self-employed as an attorney, which we all are, but it's like work-life presence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to be able. It's not okay. I've put in my 4 hours at work today. Now I'm going to go put in 4 hours with my kids to balance that out.
Right.
It's
Right.
You know, I'm going to work until that's good, but I'm going to focus on that. And then when I go home, I'm going to play with my kids, and I'm going to focus just on them.
Right.
As much as possible.
And you have to like modify maybe what your plan was. Like even in work, like things come up, and probably more in our world than your world was like, well, I was planning on doing this research this afternoon, but my client had another, idea, or the judge that came 2 hours late had another idea. So like for instance, this morning my daughter was doing Legos before school, and I was trying to like take a half hour before we left just to like get through some email and get through some stuff. And she says, "Mommy, will you play with me?" And like that, like as a parent, like that's how your kid asks, and I think maybe people are better parents than me. There have been times where I have been like, no, mommy's busy, mommy's working, whatever. And I've tried really hard to like, if I hear her say those words, I close the computer. I was mid editing a brief from one of our law clerks. I closed the computer, and we had a half hour this morning, which means way more to her than like maybe 3 hours of like something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not all equal.
Right. Now, you guys have both been attorneys for a long time, but you haven't worked together for quite that long. I know Ashley knows where this is going, because I ask her about it every single time I see her. How long have you guys worked together for?
A year and some change. So March of 2022 was when I left my former firm, and then literally the next day started working with Ashley.
Which was St. Patrick's Day.
Yes,
so
it
it
was
was
St. Patrick's
literally a holiday.
Yes.
But you two were best friends,
Yeah.
even before working together.
Yeah.
And this is always my question to Ashley. I go, so you still best friends? How's that
Oh,
going?
is this where we tell him that
we
we're
can't.
not?
We're not touching the
you
subject.
guys divorced as
Yeah.
friends?
Yeah. It's not going well.
Really?
No. Kidding.
I was like, yes, some
JK.
drama.
Juicy.
Some drama. I was,
JK.
that's like what's
Spill
wrong
the
with
tea.
podcasts.
Spill the tea.
There's never like any drama or fighting in podcasts, but now let's put it out there.
No, we're still friends.
Yeah.
Still best friends.
How do you do that? What do you have to do to be able to be work partners and share a business while at the same time, having a friendship and not trying to commingle the two? Or do you commingle the two? How does it work?
It's always commingled. But I think
Yeah.
that's also like part of who we are. Prior to us working together, we still like talked about work
Yeah.
in our friendship. So, I mean, because we do the same, we do
Right.
the same thing. Like, our careers are a big part of our lives. So, just general work things always blend into just general conversation. It's different now because we're, like, very intimate with, like, what we're both doing. So, I know exactly where she's going, what she's doing. She knows exactly what I'm doing, where I'm going. So, it's a little bit of a different dynamic. It requires work to separate the two. It's, like, hard. I mean, we'll go to happy hour and we'll like start off really good and really strong with not talking about work, but it's like, you know what, forget it. So today
So we've tried to plan
Yeah.
friend time, where we don't talk about work, and we try to do it in like settings where we couldn't even talk about work. Like we're both really into like self-care, so we'll go to the spa and do like a spa day, and it's like you really can't talk about work there. I mean, you're like getting a facial. I mean, I guess you could, but like that would even be bad for us.
Yeah.
It's easier if we like let's just go to happy hour, like whatever. Then we end up just like looking at our phones, but we try really hard to set up friend time like every couple weeks where like we try not to talk about work.
Have there ever been occasions where you felt like either the friendship or the work environment was threatened by the other?
No.
I love how casual you always are when I ask you this question. Like, no, what a dumb question. Of course we make it work.
Are you in my brain now?
What?
Are you in my brain now?
I guess I am.
I wouldn't
guess
say
am in your
threatened.
brain.
I think there are times that we both have felt like, I think strained isn't even the right word.
Yeah.
I think it's
That's
just
too
there are
strong of
times,
a word,
yeah,
I
it's too
guess.
strong. I think there's times where we've both been like, we need friend time. Like it's like a clock almost where it's like we've only been working or we've only been talking about work, and it's like, haven't asked you about your baby or your wife. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Like, haven't, like, and it's like a click, like, oh, we need to like not take off the lawyer hat for a minute.
Yeah. What did your spouses say when you guys decided that you were going to start? I can't remember. Were you married yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you had just gotten married. It wasn't.
It
was before the
baby. It was
baby.
like it was before the baby. It was like within 2 years.
Okay.
So,
So
newly married.
But like
So what
been
did your
together for a long
spouses
time.
say?
Also pregnant.
Were they nervous?
Though, so that's a huge thing.
She was pregnant at the time that we did this. And like we worked for a year together to see if it would blow up, and then we changed, the name and like formally got married, I guess. My husband, I don't think we ever talked about this necessarily because it was like we were going to do whatever we wanted to do anyways.
Here's the tea.
It's not tea. My husband was just like, are you sure? Like, I'm just afraid that it's not going to, like, your friendship's going to mess up. And the reason he said it had nothing to do with Leslie. He was like, I just feel like you're probably not the best person to work with. And I just feel like you might not be, like, a good person to, like, work with.
I love this. So Byron was being protective of Leslie, not of you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he didn't want me to lose the friendship, but it was more because of my actions or attitude or my mouth or whatever that he felt like it would not be a good thing.
Yeah. What about your spouse?
Well,
how'd she react?
I think it was the situation for me is I was just in a position to like leave soon, like as fast as possible, and to get into another space. And so for me to, especially like being like freshly pregnant, like I needed to like not be stressed and just ridiculous like I was before. So she was just really happy for me to be in a space where I was able to like breathe and not feel like I was like, I don't know, carrying a weight of the world. So that, so she was supportive 100% of doing it. Like we sat down, we talked about it. We're like, look, like this is going to be a huge change. Like there are going to be some definite positives. But like it's also a risk associated with being self-employed. So like, but we did it.
I think, and I don't know, I think, the situation that you guys have, being able to be like best friends and work together is unique, but to be able to have gotten this far, and I think the way you did it is right. Like, let's have like a trial year and see if we still like each other, if we're hating each other. If you can get through that first year, you're probably golden.
Yeah, I feel like we would have had major issues by now. Something major would have happened.
What's like the biggest challenge that the two of you have had to sort out professionally together since you started working together?
I don't know.
Is it anything with like an employee or a case or? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, hiring anyone, would be a first for me. Like, I was, it was just kind of me. I was the law clerk. I was the associate. I was everything. So having to, really talk about, like, staff, because when I came on, we did not have, like, our admin person yet. We had gone through a couple of people before we had got...
Did.
Yeah, who the person is now.
I had her before you came.
We had someone else.
Oh. No, okay.
She was pregnant, so she wasn't mentally
but
present.
she was like brand new.
I think she was new. I think she had just started.
I think we had someone before because we didn't like them, and we went back.
Oh,
she was our second
Oh,
person.
maybe.
We had someone before that we didn't like.
Maybe.
But we had to go through
same
that
company.
Same company, just different person.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of go through like, what's our ideal person?
Like intake, trying to fine tune the intake process.
Yes.
To streamline it better, to make us more, efficient and productive. And we were
two
having a lot of
people
hiccups
now.
with that.
Right. There's two people now, and then there's managing like both of our calendars, intakes, what I do, only like CPOs versus the calls that she'll do, like who should take what, just for efficiency purposes and just client management type of stuff.
How much time do you guys spend working on your processes? So like you're busy lawyers, you've got hearings and trials and all this stuff. How much time do you set aside to say, we're just going to focus on making this office better today, and what are the steps that
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
At the beginning stages, I would say we spent a lot more time because it was new and we were trying to get something like off the ground.
Yeah.
We spent a good amount of time like right when we were changing names, because there's a lot of stuff that had to go along with that, and like once we got into the process of like, we need to change this, then it's like, well, we might as well just create this new thing like a welcome packet. Well, while we're going to do that, we might as well just create the whole thing. So that would take a little bit more time. We are trying to get back in the habit of having firm meetings. Things always like come up, and that's like kind of going back to like the CPO things, like they could be all day.
It's just hard with litigation.
It's hard.
Litigation is so hard.
Yeah.
But I think we're trying to be more cognizant. And I mean, to pat myself on the back a little bit, because I've been known to do that. I had a lot of processes, I think, that had, for 10 years had grown. Not nearly like to perfection, but like there were things in place where we weren't completely starting with from scratch. And it helps that we do the same work, that it wasn't like we were bringing on like a different practice area. I mean, the CPO stuff a little bit, but like we went through some processes with that of like screening them, because some of them are just like wacky. And if she has like a big vetting process that she won't even have the intake if they can't provide the documents and can't, like, because it's just too much time.
Yeah, you could spend an hour just talking to someone about, and not even getting to the point of like, what is this going to cost you? And it's like, spending too much time, such a time suck that we had to change that process.
Are there just very few attorneys who do like the CPOs?
I think that there are a lot of attorneys that will do them, but there are a lot of attorneys that don't do them well and don't really know the process.
They dabble.
They dabble in it. Like I'll take it. Like yesterday, like I'm dealing with a hearing, and Ashley was actually, I have the person on speaker, so like Ashley got to hear kind of what I deal with when I'm dealing with opposing counsel on some of these things. He didn't know the process. Like, he acted like he did, but when we get to court, and I'm trying to explain to him like these things, and it's just like literally like ignoring everything that I'm saying. But then we get before the court and the magistrate, and she literally like says exactly what I told him before we got there.
So you feel like you've got that process down at this point, handling the CPOs. How did you learn it?
I taught myself because there really wasn't that many people doing it, so there's no one to really ask. There's a great Ohio Supreme Court guide that like breaks down a lot of the basics of it, but having a background in litigation like helps, because it ultimately is going to come down to a trial or not. So,
how much of your success, and Ashley too, outside of this CPO process, just generally, but your success learning that, your success with more of like the traditional criminal stuff that you're doing, do you think just relates back to confidence?
Yeah, we talk about this all the time because one of our law clerks just, our 2 summers, we had like an end of summer get together with them.
Yeah, I met your law clerks. They were great.
Yeah, they were for being their first year. They did really good work. We were really happy with them because it was like their first like big girl job, and they did a great job.
Yeah.
So they were like, I said, do you want to do litigation? Like, and they're like, well, I think I want to do litigation, or I forget how they phrased it, but it wasn't like, yes, I want to do litigation. It was like, well, I would like to, or that type of thing. Like, but we see you guys, like, how do you go to court, and aren't you nervous? I'm like, yeah, like, yes, we are, but you have to just put your brave face on.
Yeah.
And
I will have hearings where judges will ask me some question. This is a judge. And I think that when I was a younger attorney, I assumed that they were asking me a question like it was a quiz, like they wanted to see if I know the answer. And now I've gotten to this point where I realize they're asking me the question because they don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And which is great because that means the answer is whatever I tell them it is. So it's really about how good I am at communicating some BS that I've put together in my head. And if you can do that in a pretty like cogent way, you can usually have the outcome that you want. Like confidence sells.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
And it's not just like confidence in I'm doing a new client intake and I want this person to, hire me, so I've got to present this or that. At this point, you're not going to find another attorney that I think could do a better job than what we could do in our office.
Mm-hmm.
So that confidence I'm good with. But even like in hearings, when I'm saying things that I don't even really know the answer, if I can string something together, I think that can really carry you a long way.
Yep.
Yeah. So I am so grateful that you guys took the time out of your days to be here. Days from being lawyers and, spouses and moms and everything else. But we've got a cookie that we need to consume. Unfortunately, we don't have any donuts here at Six Shooter Coffee, but we do have a delicious chocolate chip cookie that I just want to sample with you guys and have a little cheers. Will you take a little bite for me, Ashley?
One small bite.
One small bite.
All right.
One small bite for man. One large bite for mankind.
They have good cookies.
Do they have good cookies here?
He didn't say if it was.
There's actually a good cookie.
This is a really good cookie.
We approve. We'll be back.
Do you have another bite then?
Probably not.
No? All right, well. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I value
Yes,
your
thank you.
friendship. I value your knowledge. And I'm lucky that I get to grow in my career with both of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Triple D Podcast, Donuts, Disability, and Discourse. Rate, subscribe, and tune in next week for more discourse and donuts.